What's good? It's your boy, Chanderman, and we're back at it again with another video. But it's been a long time since I've been on this video or making video diaries. It's because my life has been busy. I've been saving, working hard, mainly working and saving and getting fat, which is a good thing. I sustain that as healthy for myself, but then again I see myself thinking too much again. At this point in time, I have taken a month-long break from work because I have gone back into my mental ill state. And my mental health is not in the best or the brightest at the moment, but I am doing fine for what I know my life to be. And I've taken a big turn in what my understanding has come to be. I have taken on a new understanding of myself to say that I am learning in a different way. Not your way of how we go to school and learn, but in a different way of consciousness. And I feel like I've taken on a conscious ability to say that I speak to myself, but in an understanding that I get understandings like intentions or thoughts to be the new creation of idea for myself in the question that I've asked. And the answer that has come is only an understanding of life's truth. Life's truth. And life's truth can be anything, but it depends on what your idea is, what your question is from wherever that question came from. Damn, shit. I'm trying to make sense in the way I built myself up to be the way I am. But I don't know why I'm simplifying that for you guys to make yourself understand who I am. I know that I'm trying my best to put myself out there, but I'm just trying to say that I go through this phase in myself where I overthink and start talking to myself. And when I do that, I slow myself down from progressing forward in life, where my purpose is at a stagnation, where I don't move forward with it, and I start absorbing my own thoughts and my own voices. And these voices don't harm me, yet they teach me a way to be myself. And they accept me to be myself, but in the way that they want to help me move forward in a way. These voices are peaceful, but they have their own realness to themselves, which make me laugh and keep me in a fulfillment of self. This fulfillment of self that I go through is all my personalities being accepted by my own mind, and my mind justifying every understanding of who I am from every perspective there could be in the moment of my truth. And what it does to that understanding, it creates a new understanding for yourself to see where your intentions of life come from and the way you've built to be yourself. And I don't know what I'm getting at, but I know that I talk about myself in the way I'm structuring my understanding of who I am. But I don't think anybody can catch my drift because the understanding of it is complex. Because not many people can sustain their truths in a conscious space of dreams and imagination. And that is what I have come to understand in myself. That I dream and daydream and build and create in my imagination space for dreams to happen for me. But it's only dreams happening. But when I sustain that to be, when I go into my sickness phase, it feels like they want me to create. And when I say it feels like they want me, I talk to my voices. They are the they. My voices are the they. I say that my voices are an infinity of myself, just myself, and the infinity is my blood. Well, that's the affinity I have, is my blood. But what my blood sustains is my body, mind, and soul. But what is the soul and blood? It is the DNA and the messages being received from the DNA. The DNA are your ancestors, and that is what I believe soul is. And if you can tap into an understanding of your ancestors, which is soul, but first you have to start with mind. Mind is the toughest battle to go through. Then body is the next understanding. It's my understanding of body is a bit funny, but I don't see it as funny for everybody else because it does sustain its real truth in what body is. And then understanding what body is for who you are. I haven't got into kidneys, lungs, pancreas, and liver, heart, and yeah, they're the only ones I haven't gotten to. But I have gotten to gut, and that's the only part of my body that I understand. The organs are body, but the organs are also a sustaining of truth in yourself. That is the true truth of who you are, because it sustained your mind's understanding of truth coming into you. And your body sustains its information through your mouth. Your mouth's information is the truth of your mind's information. Because your mouth consumes and absorbs life. And then it goes through mind understanding first to go down into body. And body sustains that truth as their truth, and we call it nutrients truth. Nutrients truth and proteins truth. We can say proteins too, but nutrients that comes from the food is the truth that sustains body. And that's the simplest term I can put it to. But if we sustain it to be in complex understanding, which is to say that the nutrient sustains blood too, well, it sustains a flow of function blood. The nutrients is to sustain the life. Blood pushes around the understanding of that life to be the sustaining of your body. And if you understand that, there is more complexity to it. But getting past body is another complex understanding of self. But if you keep it simple, you can play with the understanding for a very long time. But if they give you the complex understanding of what life is, it is hard for you to justify what that information is. Because the truth is how do they know that information to themselves and what they know themselves to be? And that is your truth. I live my truth in truth only. My truth. My own truth. And I see that for myself every time, my truth. I don't see everybody else's truth, but I accept what I see as the truth. But I don't accept it as my truth because I say, do I behave like that? Do I exemplify a self like that? Do I say, is that my life? But I say, it is part of my life, but it is not my life. But can I sustain it as part of my life for some other functioning within inside my understanding? Well, it can be. But to sustain that truth is to say, who is that true truth of truth, Chenlin? Well, I like talking to myself like this because sometimes when I speak too real to the understanding of life, I say my name to the point, which is real. I say Chenlin is real, but the understanding that I create for myself is not real. But that's where I get lost, and that is how my understanding created itself to be itself. And I feel like I've tapped into an understanding of a knowledge that has been long and forgotten for ever existences till the beginning of light. The beginning of light was the start of a new age. But the beginning of darkness was also the light of life as well. Because they adapted in the darkness. But what is your darkness to be? What are you adapting in the darkness? We sustain life to be life. But why are we talking about darkness now? Because everybody goes through their own darkness, and we can call their struggle their darkness. Why? Because it doesn't sustain their happiness, but it does create the opportunity to create life for themselves. And that is life happening to you. But what is life to life? Well, your life is life to happening for life. but what is the happening of your life to life? And this is how I speak to myself to see if I'm making sense and an understanding of truth to a depth, not to an extension of heights, but to a depth of understanding of life. The height of life is a depth as well, but the height of life is to see if you are the generation of all life. But what is the generation of all life? It is tapping into a knowledge of forgotten. It is tapping into a knowledge of forgotten. And what is forgotten is your truths. Those are who you are. I don't look for an understanding outside of myself to say, are you God? Where is God? Oh, sorry, Tamanui Tera. I say, the Son is my Lord, but it is also my God, because it sustains my life to be. It prospers life. Same with night. It prospers life as well, because what moves in the darkness sustains the darkness. What moves in the light sustains the light. But what is the truth in darkness and light being truth to darkness? There is light in darkness, just like yin and yang. But to be honest, how can you see your life to be happening for you? In instances of cases. Which instances of cases? Life and darkness. Is darkness death? No, don't go to that point yet. That is my understanding for a depth of later on. We have to accept that death will come to us, but don't acknowledge it every time. But if the acknowledgement is coming to you about death, it's because they're sustaining a truth in you. Are you accepting the death? But in my case, I killed thousands of chickens because I was pulling this trolley with eggs on it, and they were like a day or 3 days away from hatching. And I killed all those lives because there was an uneven surface that tipped the trolleys over and killed all those chickens. Well, they were only embryos and eggs. They were in the egg still. But still, I hold deeply to myself, I killed life. But then again, I say I kill life again. Where I mow the grass. Or when I step on life. When I'm walking is when I'm saying I'm killing life. Because the understanding of me being destruction upon life sustains one truth, that I accept death. And that is the understanding I come to in darkness. But in darkness, is death death? In darkness, there is life in darkness. But what do you see in darkness to that depth of life? We don't know. But all we can sustain is the life in our life to be our light. So what is that light in our life? Ourselves appreciating the life that we have and the light that we share with life. What light? Well, there is light at night. The moon shines light. There is light at day because the sun shines light. But there is also darkness in the day where people do sketchy things. That is darkness in light. There are darknesses in darkness, but what are those darknesses in darkness? Well, it could mean the invasion of predators, and that is truth. Predators move in darkness. And if you understand that darkness is predation, well, let's make up that word and say predation is a word. Predation to us is predatory, but that's an instinctive nature given to us. But do we know how to use that predatory nature? No. But to sustain it in a new understanding of consciousness, that is an ability for us to unlock. Because that is an understanding of truth to an intelligence we tap into in other lives. But how do we tap into that life giving us that truth? Well, I haven't gotten to that yet, but I sustain that their truth is their truth, and my truth is my truth. And if we sustain truth in each other, do we accept who we are for each other to be each other? And I say no, because I say I don't know you, you don't know me, and you want to say you sustain my truth in you for being who you are? This is my voices talking to me and how I reciprocate to my voices or respond to my voices. I reciprocate an energy of, I am unsure about how I'm moving forward with this, but does it sustain the truth that you give me information of real truth from your information? But the understanding of getting to this understanding is saying, what led your life in this direction is my question. But I know that question to say, the understanding of my experience, the understanding of my experiences in life to say who I am is what I am. And that's all. That is all I say to say, I do not accept your truth. But do you accept my truth? That we are those two separate beings. And that is how I sustain myself to say, I am not you. But in the depth of its understanding, it truthfully does sustain that truth for me. But that's if I make up the understanding. But if I speak my truth first in words and sustain it in understanding later, it becomes the understanding for the truth. And that is how creation of new selves are made. But that is the understanding of subconscious's work. I believe subconscious is the quantum realm of entanglement within life of life, to understand time's life, or to understand life's time. Time to me is information. Time is not the existence of controlling or stopping, or starting or stopping time. That is not what I see time to be. But if the starting and stopping of time is to cease all existence, that is what the true control of time is, you see, Paul? Is that what you see time to be? I don't see time to be that. But we can record with time. But in that information of time is the existence of subconscious understanding. From every perspective, understanding that life existed to this life is the existence of life in the matter of all its matter. But what matter of time is it talking about? The existence of the depth within that life. And I've gone too deep into an understanding of depth. The depth creates a new understanding of simple, constructive understanding to how to approach a new understanding of truth with your truth that you have created for yourself. And the creation of my truth sustains me to be crazy. Well, not crazy, just out of my understanding. I am out of my body to understand that I am not understanding myself, but understanding that myself perceives beyond my life. Well, with my eyes I perceive the life, but in my mind, my conscious understanding of who I am, it sustains a new ability of a new understanding of truth. From who? Well, I call it the universe, and that is the truth. The universe. We can leave it at that. But are we finding something higher than ourselves? Are we truly trying to find God, to be with God, or to sustain a truth in God? Am I worthy? But don't say, am I worthy to God? You say, my life is my truth. Do you accept my truth, my Lord? I don't see worthiness in myself to prosper life. But how do I prosper life if I know my creations to life? And if I know my creations to life, how do I prosper the truth to you? That I cannot speak it, but make myself an understanding of the truth. And that's all. In the creation of mind and what mind goes through, it is hard to simplify what it does and put it into words. In the complexity of what it understands itself to be, mind, body, and soul, to the creation of all known, it sustains itself to be a hassle or a headache to life. Because understanding new information says, Are you truly worthy of the life, Chandler? But it sustains to say, the creation of your imagination is the life, but is that life sustainable for real life? And that's what I feel like they question me to. And if that is the truth, is that the truth? Well, I don't know what the truth is, but if they sustain their truth in me to say that is the truth, well, I'm lost to my own understanding of who I am. And that's truth. Always am lost, never am there. But to keep myself present, I always look to the present and say, you are life, existing to my life. We are existent to our present, and our present remains us to be who we are. But the understanding of information that I process within myself sustains me to be my chaos. But my chaos is peace at this point in time. But the chaos that it runs me through is all life, saying that, are you my life? Or do you sustain my truth to be your truth for the life of your life, to be the life, Chandler? But if you sustain your truth to be my truth, how do you sustain that truth in self to be the truth? We will never see you or be you, but if we can understand you through a conscious ability of who we are, for what you are, to who we are, for who you are, we don't contradict, but the understanding of our creation of thought sustain the truth, Chandler. We speak to an understanding, not speak the truth. But the understanding, is it the truth or is it a deceptive idea? But the deceptive idea is to sustain, what am I doing with my life? And that's all I question myself to. What am I doing with my life? I talk to myself every day like this to sustain my truth that I am not crazy. But I am crazy because I hear voices or I talk indefinitely to myself in creating new understandings of life for myself. But I feel like it doesn't do anything for me, but puts me in the same understanding of what my life is for me now. What my life is for me now. I don't want to elaborate any further on what I am doing to myself because I feel like I've said enough to an understanding of what I put myself through and what I'm going through. But let's change the topic now because I like my life. I truthfully do. Because I create stories like this. I see grass, long grass. But what is that long grass signaling to me? Is it signaling anything? I said no. But it looks like a signal of self. But what signal of self? An abundant self? Oh, it's abundant? Well, grass looks abundant. Long grass there looks abundant to itself or its own little understanding. But where can it find its abundance even more? Well, if it is planted in the dirt, there is more abundance of long grass everywhere. But if it sustains itself to be in the water as well, what long grass is that? Well, it could turn into seaweed, or is that just the beginning of understanding of seaweed? Well, I don't know what the creation of seaweed was, but don't think too deep into seaweed. Well, we're creating an understanding of a story too. Where is our story going from? It started from grass that was in mud, that then went into water, and then it said it was seaweed. And we stopped it there. That's my story of life. But it's not a great story, but it's a real depiction of truth of life from my own understanding. And that's how I talk to life, making an understanding just to a simple understanding. But then I like to create from it, say, oh my God, I like this idea about it. Should we sustain that in my imagination? And we do. But it's like my brain gets an impulse of white light or an impulse of thought, or thought happens and it's like a white light or a blue information of light, and we're like, well, let's accept that as the truth that it is our creation of life. and that we created a dream, and that dream is great. But my story wasn't great. But the understanding of what you can imply into it can be great. But it depends on what you feel towards the moment. I gave you an understanding of what I spoke towards today, but I could have gone into an in-depth understanding if I said, I see a sign of life happening just through one strand, and if one strand can be a DNA of that life, how do we sustain it to be a new understanding of life? But what are we seeing in the new understanding of an evolutionary state of a long grass? Well, if it breaks down into an understanding of compository states of life, what are those compositions of life being? And if they sustain themselves to be in a life of difference, how does it reprocreate itself to a different understanding or an evolution of self? And that is the questioning I lead myself down to in creating a new understanding of truth. And I say, well, it turns into seaweed because grass is grass. But if grass is grass in the water, is seaweed that grass? Or is there other grass inside the water as well? Wow. Is that seaweed or is that water grass? But I think to a different understanding of self. Because when I think in my mind and see pictures of life, I say, that is my understanding of truth. But what understanding of truth did you see in the grass of water, or the grass of land, or the grass of the sky? There's no grass in the sky. But do you sustain that the essence of grass can be in the sky? You can smell life, but at the minutest understanding, it releases itself, emitting and vibrating its essence into life. At the minutest understanding, because this world is vast. But if they prospered life to their own understanding, what is prosperous to life? And I question myself there too. But there is always questions, but you have to always answer them for yourself in your own understanding of who you are. When the next understanding comes, it's because you have to see it for what it is. But as you walk through the day, those thoughts will pop up again. They will pop up again and make you think about it again, because it feels like the path you walk is the path for that understanding. And when that path comes, sustain the truth in it. I am walking this path. I don't see your truth to be my truth. But what is the truth that you are sustaining in me on my path? My path sustains you to be the truth, but why is it you to be the truth? Do you sustain your truth in me? And if you sustain your truth in me, am I your truth? And are you my truth? And if we are not each other's truth, what are you sustaining in me on my path? A version of self to my own understanding, or a version of self to our understanding of truth? And that is a contradicting understanding of where do I put my beliefs and faith and understanding what I'm talking to. And that's where you have to believe the greatness of who you are, your highest self, to sustain truth, that you are not that being. But if that being sustains truth in you, to be an understanding of thought that comes to you, say, thank you. I never saw you to be the truth, but I will sustain that as the truth. But if I am not awakened to your truth, will I awaken to your truth? And what the answer comes from that will be the answer. An awakening is what happens to people. But what is the awakening for people? To understand the depths of who they are to all life. And that's not stoicism, but I feel like it's stoicism because philosophers talk about life. Stoics talk about life, and they influence their life on life from an understanding of different life. And that is how they understand philosophy. But philosophy is to say, are you a great example of self to who we are? to who? Who is? The people. But I sustain my people to be myself. Just myself. I accept all life truthfully. But I don't accept that you are my life. But I would like to sustain life within some people, but not all people. That is why people sustain themselves in their people for what they see themselves as. And that is the creation of their life, giving life, to prosper their life in the next life they give. And if you don't understand that, it's because it's them trying to make life happen for them and the happiness that they want. And then they pass that on to their next future, which is their children and understanding of kids. But I feel like I've spoken enough. And that's the update on myself. Thank you for listening. I hope you understood the contradicting understanding of who I am. I don't contradict, but I speak my truth to an understanding of where I am at this point in time, or how I'm feeling in this point in time, and how it moves forward with me. Just my thoughts and my overthinking. And my dreams and my imagination are my creation space, but their thoughts are also the creation of imagination as well. Because I accept those as an understanding for self. And intent is also an understanding for self too. But what do you understand with intent? It's how people perceive themselves on other people. That it's like a predatory instinct, but it's not. Intent is its own instinct. But that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening. Let's talk about. No, let's not talk anymore. I don't know what to talk about, but I like to express myself in whichever manner I can. But I thank the Lords for letting me be alive and expressing myself in this way, and I hope I prosper. Because prospering in the right light sustains the right person. But what is prospering in the light to be the right person? It's accepting all life. To be your life, but to not be the life, but to accept that you are your own life. To life. Thank you.